and it says the people will exercise it either directly or through their elected representatives. It means if at any time it appears that the collective sovereignty of the people is being abused by the elected leaders, then they can recall it and exercise it directly through a people's assembly, either by persons they have elected in some fora or themselves represented by religious organizations, civil society or other groups. Under Article 37 of the Constitution, it grants Kenyans the right to assemble. And therefore you can assemble at any time if you think there are certain issues that cannot and are not being addressed by the formal institutions, whether it's parliament, whether it's the executive, or whether it's the judiciary. And therefore the People's Assembly is the occasion that will give us the opportunity to discuss the things that we are not able to discuss as elected members of parliament because of certain, super majorities by the Jubilee and control of parliament by the executive. It will give us the opportunity to discuss with the religious organizations because there's no other forum for discussing with them. It will give us the opportunity to have the input from civil society, which does not otherwise have a formal input. It will give us the formal opportunity to discuss on why we can never get our electoral cycle right. What is it in the Constitution that we need to amend or deal with to get it right? And how is it that we want to chart our collective path in a way that will give us greater cohesion and unity as a country?
I understand that still the aim is to have that election cancelled and have Honorable Raila Odinga as a president of Kenya. How do you expect to do that without having majority at the parliament on the political level?
The aim is actually not to have Raila Amollo Odinga declared the president. The aim is to have ultimately a free, fair and credible election where anybody can win and anybody can lose. But whoever wins will have legitimacy. Whoever loses will accept. Now, it is not necessary, therefore, to have that discussion within parliament. That is why we are calling it a people's parliament. It is not a parliament comprising of those who are elected, either in the Senate or the National Assembly. It is a parliament outside of those formal institutions, which will comprise those who are elected and who are willing to have a discussion beyond those chambers.
That means that the President Kenyatta will remain in power until 2022.
Well, it is our view, and you heard it from the speech by Honorable Raila Amollo Odinga, that if the people, President Kenyatta can only exercise power as donated by the people. If the people collectively withdraw that power, then whether it is election as a president or as a member of parliament, whether it's an office you're holding as a judge, if the people recall that power, then you must relinquish that power.
So is this a parallel government?
Pardon?
Or is this a parallel government?
It is not a parallel government. The Constitution of Kenya does not allow us to establish a parallel government.
So it
is an avenue of having honest, serious discussion with those who are willing, both at the national level and at the county level. And we would probably consider whether to have that discussion at a fixed place like Nairobi or to make it rotational. That is a decision that will be made as we move along.
But nothing is binding that comes out from these people's parliaments.
Well, I think if you look at the nature of that question, you will realize that in all major situations where fundamental change has emerged, it always starts as non-binding. That is the foundation of the United States, for example. That is the foundation of any country you talk of. What is important is not the legitimacy of the law at the point. What is important is the legitimacy of those involved and the issues that they are raising.
And with the resistance movement, are you planning to sabotage the economy in Europe?
I think that those are the words of Jubilee, particularly the Deputy President. So only he can say that. I think we've said it and we repeat that the resistance movement is lawful and civil resistance by all the means provided by the Constitution and the law. Yes.
So you're saying that so far going to the Supreme Court is not decided yet. Some MPs that I talked to before said we're not going to go to court. Do you think that there is still room to detail more that strategy? Some might say that it's not precise yet.
No, as I told you, going to court is an individual right and an individual decision. Any person, an MP or non-MP, can go to court. Any civil society can go to court. indeed, even any company in Kenya can go to court. So it is only important to know that from yesterday, any person, about 47 million of us, plus the other corporations, can go to court at any time. So whether they go or not is a matter that of conjecture. What is important is that the litany of irregularities and illegalities that have been committed in these elections are even more than what was committed in August. And I am confident that if somebody goes to court, then the court will find that this election was a fraud.
And where is NASA getting the 3.5 million voters who voted?
I think Raila answered that. And Raila said, and this is a question now you need to prod on the IEBC, that information from the KIEMS kit, which is the only kit that is supposed to identify the voters, not what Professor Guli and the others were saying, that they have some complementary way of identifying voters. The law requires each voter to be identified through the KIEMS kit, the electronic voter identification mechanism. By the information provided by the IEBC as of August, only 5,000 people did not have biometrics that could be captured. So at any time, you cannot have more than 5,000 Kenyans who are identified outside of EVID. And therefore, if the information in the KIEMS kit suggests that only 3.5 million people voted, the most you can add to that number is only 5,000, not the millions as suggested by IEBC.
I just want to clarify, so you said this People's Assembly, if the people don't support the government, then it should change. But what does that mean? Like you said it at the United States, that was a revolution. I mean...
in order not to reduce from what the Prime Minister said, let me just say that the exact formulation and workings of the People's Assembly as indicated will be announced later in terms of where it will sit, the exact composition, because as he announced, there's a task force that is going to work on the exact formulation. So I guess some of your answers, I don't have to exhaust them for now. Yes.
Why call for the county assemblies to approve this People's Assembly? I mean, is that an effort to legitimize these People's Assemblies, and does that divide this country even further?
Well, first of all, the county assemblies are legitimate organs in government. As you know, executive authority is divided at the county and at the national level. To call for the county assemblies to approve is also a way of validating validating the exercise of the sovereign will of the people at the county level. Because you might not be able to do a referendum at each county. But if through the elected representative at that level they validate it, then it means the population in that area are in agreement with the aspirations of that assembly. That is why.
Does it divide the country further?
Well, I think the country is already divided, and you have two choices. You can pretend it is not and move on as everybody is calling upon us, or you can accept that it is not divided, it is much divided, and look at meaningful ways of uniting the country, even if not in the immediate present, but in the near future. And I believe that is what this would achieve, because it would have a forum of openly discussing what is it that divides us and how can we deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was NASA lawyer Otiende Amollo just giving us a perspective of what the full speech by Mr. Raila Odinga actually meant. He has assured Kenyans that the People's Assembly is not a parallel government that they are forming, but it is a legitimate institution provided for in the Constitution. Thank you. Keep it tuned here at Pulse Life, and we will continue giving you updates as they come in.
Or you need to intervene.
That these elections